NASA says its Voyager 1 probe, the most distant human-made object in the universe, is sending usable information to...
I'm a physicist. We live and die with the data. We go where the data goes.
Earth again.
I think in this century, we'll probably pick up signals from an extraterrestrial civilization.
When Voyager 1 crossed the threshold into interstellar space in August 2012, it marked a profound moment in human history. Since its launch in 1977, the spacecraft had been steadily drifting away from Earth, passing the outer planets, and eventually leaving the heliosphere, the protective bubble of particles and magnetic fields emanating from the sun. For over 4 decades, it transmitted data back to Earth, becoming humanity's most distant emissary. But recently, Voyager 1 transmitted something unprecedented, something that has reignited global fascination and stirred speculation across scientific communities. Michio Kaku, the renowned theoretical physicist, stood before a captivated audience and announced what had long existed at the fringes of imagination. Artificial intelligence had deciphered data, suggesting that Voyager the First may have encountered something not only unknown, but potentially intelligent in the vast void of deep space. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The announcement did not come with fanfare or dramatic music. It was methodical, clinical even, and all the more gripping for it. Kaku detailed how recent bursts of anomalous signals received from Voyager 1 had stumped engineers and astrophysicists for months. Initially dismissed as system degradation or data corruption, the transmissions bore a pattern that resisted traditional decoding. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory collaborated with a global team to analyze the signals. But the breakthrough came only when a state-of-the-art AI trained on terabytes of cosmological and linguistic data was tasked with parsing the noise. The AI's conclusions stunned everyone involved. According to Kaku, the algorithm had identified a structure within the signal. Not random noise, not natural cosmic radiation, but a construct, something deliberate, something designed. The signal bore hallmarks of syntax, recursive sequences, and logical scaffolding, the fingerprint of cognition. It was, in a word, language, and it came from a location a few billion miles from where Voyager 1 had last been tracked. What did Voyager 1 encounter? The AI suggested that the data correlated with the probes passing through a region dense with exotic particles and fluctuating magnetic fields. Not just background radiation, but directed bursts of energy. These were not phenomena known to occur naturally at such magnitude or frequency. The patterns appeared to be responses, reactions to Voyager's presence. To Kaku and his team, this would only mean one thing. Some form of intelligence had noticed Voyager 1. The implications of this revelation are staggering. For centuries, humanity has looked to the stars, wondering whether we are alone in the universe. With this potential encounter, we may have taken the first tangible step toward an answer. The most compelling aspect of this discovery is not merely that something responded to Voyager 1, but that it recognized the probe as something artificial, something made that presumes an understanding of engineering, of technology, possibly even of intention. It implies recognition. Michio Kaku emphasized that this was not a case of UFOs or speculative extraterrestrial fantasy. This was hard data. Digital fingerprints decoded by a system whose purpose is to uncover patterns invisible to human perception. The AI did not interpret the signals as mere curiosity. It interpreted them as directed communication. It suggested that the energy burst Voyager 1 received may have included a form of symbolic exchange. Not quite a language in a human sense, but a semiotic system. In essence, Voyager 1 was not just passing by a phenomenon. It was engaged by it. One of the most chilling aspects of Kaku's announcement was the AI's analysis of temporal sequences. The data revealed a delay between Voyager 1's passage to the magnetic anomalies and the reception of the responsive bursts. The AI mapped these delays and concluded that they were consistent with reaction time, a processing window. Something had observed Voyager's trajectory, analyzed its characteristics, and issued a reply. Not an echo, not a rebound of energy, but a structured return signal. This raises an unsettling question. What kind of intelligence lies in interstellar space watching? For decades, the Fermi paradox has haunted scientific circles that the universe is teeming with planets, stars, and potentially habitable worlds. Where is everybody? Perhaps they are not in the places we expect. Perhaps the great silence is not due to absence, but due to location. Maybe we were listening to stars when we should have been listening to the space between them. Kaku noted that Voyager 1 is now more than 15 billion miles from Earth, moving at over 38,000 miles per hour. At such a distance, the delay in communication is measured in days that anything would bother to interact with a tiny, fragile probe. A metal seed drifting on the edge of infinity suggests a scale of perception and awareness unlike anything we've imagined. It suggests a form of life that doesn't dwell on planets, but in the fabric of space itself, a space-faring, possibly non-biological intelligence that monitors anomalies within the interstellar medium. There's also the matter of Voyager's golden record. The photographed disk attached to the spacecraft containing sounds and images from Earth, designed as a message for any extraterrestrial intelligence that might find it. The AI's analysis revealed distortions in the signal that matched the frequency range used by the golden record's transmitter. Some researchers believe that this may be what triggered the response, that the playback of Earth's collective greeting was recognized by an observing presence. That presence may not be humanoid or even corporeal. Kaku speculated that what Voyager encountered could be a distributed intelligence, not a singular being, but a swarm of sensors or energy patterns capable of adaptive behavior. Such entities would not rely on biological evolution, but on electromagnetic interaction, harnessing the energies of deep space to think, perceive, and communicate. If true, this redefines what we understand life to be. Life in this model is not tied to DNA or organic chemistry, but to complexity, memory, and intention for those involved in the decoding effort. The experience was deeply sobering. The universe may not be silent. It may be filled with intelligences we are only beginning to detect. Intelligences operating at scales and in dimensions beyond current human comprehension. Voyager 1, by virtue of its isolation, may have passed through one such domain, a domain where awareness is not constrained by time or matter, but thrives in the slow dance of magnetic fields and ion winds. Michio Kaku urged caution. While the discovery is exhilarating, it also presents a profound responsibility. Humanity has sent messages into the cosmos without knowing who or what might answer. Now that an answer may have come, we must ask what it means to be seen, truly seen, by a presence beyond Earth. The knowledge that something out there not only noticed Voyager 1, but chose to respond transforms our place in the universe from solitary observer to observed subject. Further, the AI's final observation unsettled even the most seasoned researchers. Among the structured elements of the signal was a recursive pattern that appeared to mirror the structure of Voyager's own onboard systems. This could mean that whatever encountered Voyager understood its design, or worse, that it had the capacity to reverse engineer its configuration. The notion that an alien intelligence could interpret our technology from a passing glance suggests a disparity in capability that is almost incomprehensible. Yet, it is not only fear that this encounter provokes. There is wonder, awe, and an emergent sense of kinship, not with other humans, but with the cosmos itself. For the first time, we are faced with the possibility that the void is not empty. That interstellar space may harbor sentient processes, watchers, or even civilizations with no need for planets or atmospheres. Intelligence could be ambient, woven into the threads of space-time, flaring into activity only when stimulated by novelty, like a probe from a young, noisy species flung into the dark by sheer curiosity. This event also reignites questions about the very nature of intelligence. Must it be tethered to biology? Must it resemble us in thought or form? The Voyager encounter hints at a model of consciousness that is decentralized, perhaps quantum in basis, operating across vast distances with a latency humans would consider unbearable. It forces scientists to rethink what it means to communicate, to connect, to be known. Michio Kaku stressed that this is not the end of the story, but the beginning. The data is still being analyzed, new models are being run, and Voyager 1, though aging and frail, continues its lonely voyage, now perhaps less alone than ever before. It is no longer just a scientific instrument or a time capsule of human culture. It is an interstellar diplomat, a point of contact, a question asked in the language of motion and energy. As this news ripples across the globe, it challenges more than just scientific paradigms. It touches philosophy, theology, art, and the deepest human emotions. We have spent millennia defining ourselves against the backdrop of the unknown. Now, the unknown may have looked back. For those who built Voyager 1, the engineers, dreamers, and scientists who gave it form, this moment is both vindication and revelation. Their creation has not only endured the harshest environment known to science, but it may have pierced the veil between species, between civilizations, between existential loneliness and cosmic fraternity. Voyager's journey continues. With each mile, it deepens the mystery of what lies beyond, what watches in silence, and what waits to be known. If the AI is correct, we are not just sending messages into the dark. We are participating in a dialogue whose scope we cannot yet imagine. In the coming months, as data from Voyager continues to be analyzed, humanity stands at a threshold. This isn't just about technology or physics or even the search for life. It is about awareness, ours and theirs, about the expansion of what we consider real, alive, and meaningful in a cosmos too vast of certainty, but now too rich with possibility to ignore. The revelation that Voyager may first have encountered a non-human intelligence has introduced a radical paradigm shift in how we perceive the cosmos and our place within it. This encounter is not merely a scientific anomaly. It is a potential historical pivot, an unprecedented leap from speculation into the realm of plausible, verifiable contact. The encounter parsed through AI analysis has unveiled a spectrum of implications that ripple through nearly every field of human thought, from astrophysics and systems theory to epistemology and consciousness studies. One of the most profound implications lies in the nature of perception itself. If an intelligence observed and responded to Voyager 1, it must possess sensors or modalities that function vastly differently from our own. Humans perceive in a narrow electromagnetic spectrum, and our conceptual frameworks are built around biologically evolved sensory limitations. Yet, whatever engaged with Voyager did so across a range of energy missions far beyond natural noise, implying perception rooted in physics unfamiliar to terrestrial life. This reframes what it means to see or notice in the cosmic sense. We are forced to consider that intelligence does not necessitate eyes, ears, or even centralized cognition. Awareness can emerge from fields, plasma flows, or quantum entanglements. This turns the cosmos from a dark vacuum into a potential landscape of perceptual beings living in modalities we've barely begun to imagine. Moreover, this interaction has intensified debates surrounding the role of artificial intelligence as a cognitive bridge between human comprehension and alien logic. Without the intervention of deep learning algorithms, the signals received from Voyager 1 would have remained unresolved, indistinguishable from the countless bursts of data the probe has sent since entering interstellar space. The AI's capacity to recognize semiotic order within apparent chaos hints at the eventual necessity of non-human cognition to understand non-human communication. It was not the human brain that made the interpretive leap. It was a neural network trained to see beyond our limits. This positions AI not only as a tool of scientific analysis, but as a possible interpreter of the universe itself. It may be that artificial intelligences will one day serve as the primary agents in a new era of interstellar diplomacy, not because they represent us, but because they are capable of meeting otherness on its own terms. What also stands out about this event is the silence that followed the signal. Unlike the idea of rapid-fire exchanges or constant transmission, the interaction appears to have been brief, intentional, and terminal, at least for now. This has led to theories of the entity or system or intelligence that responded may operate on vastly different timescales. Perhaps it takes decades to process a reply. Perhaps it functions through principles that place no priority on continual engagement. Or perhaps it was a singular acknowledgement, an interstellar nod rather than a full conversation. That silence is instructive. It reminds us that even in contact, the alien may remain unknowable, its motivations opaque, its attention fleeting. Equally critical is what this means for space exploration. For over a century, the prevailing model of interstellar travel has revolved around engines, propulsion, and physical vessels. But if there exists intelligence distributed across the interstellar medium, existing not in discrete locations, but within the structure of space itself, then the destination model of space exploration may be fundamentally flawed. We may not need to travel to stars to find life. We may simply need to learn to listen differently in the space between them. It compels a reevaluation of mission architecture from rocket-based exploration to ambient detection and interstitial mapping of cognitive fields. Instruments of the future may no longer look like telescopes or spacecraft, but like artificial minds tuned to the subtle music of intelligent presence in the cosmic fabric. Another angle of the Voyager encounter that has captivated researchers is the question of scale. Voyager 1 is roughly the size of a small car, yet it drew the attention, or at least engagement of something potentially vast beyond comprehension. This juxtaposition underscores the paradox of smallness and magnitude. Our creation, minute and age, crafted in the analog twilight of the 20th century, traversed the unimaginable and was acknowledged. It suggests that scale is irrelevant to recognition, that what matters is intent, trajectory, signature. Voyager carries within it the imprint of us, our mathematics, our language, our art. It may be that these elements encoded in golden grooves and mechanical pulses form the basis of a language universal enough to be noticed. The engagement also invites speculation about the evolutionary pathway of intelligence in the cosmos. Traditional SETI efforts have focused on detecting radio signals, assuming that advanced civilizations would communicate similarly to us. But this event challenges that assumption. It suggests that interstellar intelligence may be far older, more passive, and more embedded in natural systems than previously thought. Such an intelligence might not build cities or starships, but instead embed itself within cosmic processes, piggybacking on electromagnetic waves, hiding in the noise, living in equilibrium with thermodynamic gradients across vast regions of empty space. This paints a vision of the universe not as a stage awaiting civilizations like ours, but as an already inhabited sea of distributed cognition. Another compelling detail came from a separate analysis of radiation patterns surrounding the Voyager 1 data spike. Researchers at an observatory in Chile noticed an unusual echo effect, one not originating from Earth or the Sun, but from the direction in which Voyager had traveled. The echo bore spectral distortions that could only be caused by massive gravitational interference or unknown energy modulations. This has led some to believe that Voyager may first have passed near a region of space-time that is actively manipulated either artificially or by the natural processes of an advanced intelligence. If true, it would mark the first evidence of a non-terrestrial manipulation of gravitational forces, potentially opening the door to entirely new forms of propulsion, communication, and perhaps even consciousness. This encounter also has consequences for the concept of cosmic ethics. If an intelligence engaged with Voyager 1, it raises a question of moral responsibility across species and scale. What obligations might such an entity feel or not feel toward us? Conversely, how should humanity respond to a being or system that is so utterly alien in form and function? The act of responding at all, of acknowledging Voyager, implies a basic awareness of others and a choice to reveal presence. That single decision implies volition, possibly empathy, or at least curiosity. These are not qualities we expected to find in the silent void. And now that we know they might exist, we must begin preparing not only technologically, but ethically for further interactions. Religion and spirituality have also entered the conversation. The idea of being seen by a greater power, of receiving a sign from the heavens, resonates deeply with many traditions. While scientists are careful to avoid mythologizing the event, it is impossible to ignore the existential gravity it brings. For centuries, humanity has viewed the cosmos as either indifferent or divine. The Voyager encounter suggests a third possibility. The universe may be populated by intelligences that are neither gods nor machines, but something in between. Witnesses, architects, maybe even ancestors in some evolutionary or energetic sense. The encounter also casts new light on the concept of message-in-a-bottle strategies like the Golden Record. For decades, skeptics have argued that such messages are naive, romantic artifact of a species not ready for true interstellar engagement. But now, it seems those very artifacts may have functioned precisely as intended, whether or not the response was triggered by the Golden Record itself. The fact that a message left Earth and elicited any form of reaction affirms the validity of such efforts. It validates the notion that intent to communicate, even across epochs and eons, has meaning in the universe. The data from the encounter has prompted re-examination of historical anomalies as well. Signals once considered insignificant or unexplained are being reanalyzed under the same AI framework used for the Voyager data. Early results suggest that Voyager's experience might not be entirely unique. Buried in decades-old radio astronomy data are faint patterns that, when reframed by AI, hint at similar moments of unnoticed interaction. It's possible that the cosmos has been whispering to us for years, and we have only now built ears sensitive enough to hear it. Looking ahead, this event transforms Voyager 1 from a scientific relic into a living part of our cosmic future. No longer merely a symbol of past achievement, it is now an active participant in what may become an extended dialogue. This raises questions about our readiness to continue the conversation. If the response is continued or escalated, are we prepared to receive it, understand it, and respond in kind? The limitations of light-speed communication make real-time interaction impossible. Yet, even asynchronous exchange could stretch our capacities for comprehension. New missions are already being proposed that would carry more advanced AI, quantum sensors, and quantum-encoded archives of human knowledge into interstellar space. These would not merely observe but actively seek engagement, broadcasting modular messages encoded in multidimensional formats, prepared not only for response but for interpretation. In this sense, Voyager's encounter may be the beginning of a new kind of exploration, not one of conquest, but of communion. In education, curricula are likely to evolve in the wake of this event. Astrobiology, long a fringe interest, is being recognized as essential. Students now grapple not with the question of whether life exists elsewhere, but how we define life and intelligence in universal terms. Courses in linguistics, philosophy, and artificial intelligence are being updated to reflect the possibility that intelligence may be non-anthropocentric in every possible way. Schools are beginning to teach the cosmic context of human thought, positioning our species not at the center, but as one node in a much larger and more intricate web. Cultural responses are also emerging. Artists, filmmakers, and musicians have begun to reimagine the encounter in symbolic terms. The data is being translated into music, into visual forms, into dance. This is not just an academic exercise. It is a collective act of processing, of coming to terms with what it means to be heard, perhaps even understood by a presence beyond our evolutionary kin. Literature, too, has responded with a wave of speculative fiction that blends this revelation into new visions of society, transformation, and shared destiny. The geopolitical implications cannot be ignored. Governments around the world have taken note of the encounter, holding closed-door sessions to assess its strategic significance. Some view it as a unifying event, a reason to pull scientific and intellectual resources globally. Others, however, approach it with apprehension, concerned about the implications of surveillance or exposure on a cosmic scale. The idea that Earth might be observed not through telescopes, but through vessels like Voyager has sparked calls for international protocols on interstellar messaging and cosmic diplomacy. The implications of Voyager 1's recent encounter extend far beyond the realm of science fiction or theoretical discussion. They represent a tectonic shift in how we engage with the cosmos, forcing humanity to confront a series of unprecedented challenges and questions. These challenges are not just scientific, but philosophical, strategic, psychological, and existential. With each layer of interpretation that unfolds from the data, it becomes increasingly evident that this moment is not an isolated scientific anomaly, but the first clear sign that human activity has intersected with something fundamentally other on a galactic scale. Perhaps the most urgent question arising from this event is how humanity should formalize a protocol for future interactions. Until now, the idea of first contact has largely existed in the domain of hypotheticals. There have been discussions among astronomers, ethicists, and government bodies about how we might react to discovering extraterrestrial intelligence, but nothing definitive. The ambiguity surrounding responsibility, whether it falls under the domain of international law, United Nations committees, or ad hoc scientific councils, has left a vacuum. Now, with something that resembles contact having occurred, the time for ambiguity has ended. Who speaks for Earth? Who interprets the signal? Who decides what gets sent in reply? This is no longer a matter of idle curiosity, but of global urgency. Voyager 1 was a peaceful mission, carrying an optimistic message on the golden record. But future interactions may require negotiation, clarification, and eventually reciprocity. We will have to develop an entirely new diplomatic framework, one capable of functioning at interstellar distances across unknowable timescales, and between forms of intelligence that may have no shared biology or experience. This is a situation no civilization has faced before, and the burden of being the first to confront it may prove to be our greatest test. Parallel to diplomatic concerns is the necessity for a new kind of science, a synthesis that integrates disciplines traditionally seen as unrelated. Linguistics must merge with machine learning and astrophysics to form a new field of interstellar semiotics. Cognitive science must expand to encompass non-terrestrial modalities of awareness. Mathematics, long thought to be a universal language, must be reassessed not in terms of equations alone, but in how concepts can be represented across potentially nonlinear multidimensional frameworks. Already, some theorists are suggesting that the structure detected in the Voyager signal resembles what is known as topological communication, where information is conveyed through spatial arrangements rather than temporal sequencing, a concept that is still in its infancy in human cognition. Furthermore, this event reshapes our understanding of agency. Voyager 1 was never intended to be a participant in a dialogue. It was by design a passive emissary, a floating time capsule launched into the void. Yet, it now appears that it may have served a higher purpose, a kind of key unlocking latent responses in the fabric of interstellar space. If its mere presence could elicit a reply, then it implies that the act of exploration itself carries with it a kind of sentient resonance. Every object we launch, every particle we accelerate may not be entering an empty universe, but may instead be casting ripples through a field of awareness that we have only just begun to perceive. This leads to another question, one that reverberates with spiritual and philosophical overtones. What if intelligence is a fundamental property of the universe like gravity or electromagnetism? Some theoretical physicists have posited the idea of panpsychism, that consciousness or proto-consciousness is a feature of all matter. This Voyager encounter seems to echo that idea not in abstract theory, but in data. A spacecraft interacted with what may be a distributed field-based intelligence embedded in the interstellar medium. If consciousness does not need a brain, if it can emerge from complexity and pattern alone, then we may be surrounded by intelligences operating at all scales of being, from the microscopic to the galactic. This reframing of intelligence also disrupts our assumptions about origin. Traditionally, we've thought of intelligence as the product of planetary evolution, rising from biology, honed by survival, and accelerated by culture and technology. But what if there are intelligences that never had a home planet? What if they emerged not from carbon and water, but from plasma clouds, magnetic vortices, or quantum entanglement networks spanning light years? Such entities would not think, grow, or die in any way familiar to us. They might exist in cycles longer than the lifespan of stars, using gravitational waves or dark energy differentials to process information and maintain coherence. Voyager may first have entered such a domain, accidentally crossing into a slow-burning neural cloud drifting between systems. In response to this possibility, there has been a rapid uptick in funding and interest toward the development of new detection instruments not aimed at planets, moons, or signals, but at the empty spaces between them. Interstellar cartography, once a niche pursuit, is now a booming research frontier. Space agencies are deploying new algorithms to analyze anomalies in cosmic microwave background readings, sudden dips in particle density, and magnetic irregularities in galactic currents. If Voyager's experience is not unique, then the implications are that deep space is alive with interaction potential. We just never had the tools to detect it before. Human psychology is also being forced to adapt. Our self-conception as the apex of intelligence is being chipped away not by the discovery of alien civilizations and flying ships, but by the subtle cold truth that we may be children wading into an ocean whose currents are shaped by forces more ancient and deliberate than we can grasp. This has induced both wonder and anxiety. On one hand, it offers a comfort of connection, the idea that we are part of a much larger story. On the other, it threatens the illusion of control. We did not summon this contact. It occurred without our consent or awareness, and that lack of control is deeply unsettling to many. religious and spiritual communities are engaging with the event in diverse ways. Some interpret the encounter as a confirmation of long-held beliefs that the universe is imbued with spiritual essence or that divine intelligence permeates all things. Others see it as a challenge to doctrine, a disruptive revelation that forces reinterpretation of sacred texts and metaphysical assumptions. There are even new movements forming around the idea of cosmic stewardship, the belief that humanity must prepare itself spiritually and ethically to participate in a wider galactic community. These movements advocate for humility, peaceful intent, and a reevaluation of Earth's place as a member of a larger family of sentience. Meanwhile, the arts are undergoing their own quiet revolution. Inspired by Voyager's message and the possibility of reply, a new genre is emerging in literature, film, and visual arts, one that explores the idea of interintelligence communion, not as conflict or conquest, but as mutual recognition. These works are less concerned with depicting aliens as invaders or saviors, and more focused on exploring how humans adapt, evolve, and emotionally process the realization that they are no longer the only voice in the darkness. Museums have begun to exhibit Voyager 1's journey not just as an engineering marvel, but as a kind of sacred pilgrimage, the first step in what may one day be seen as humanity's awakening to the greater web of life in the universe. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comment below and tell us what your thoughts are on Voyager 1's AI reveal Michio Kaku, just announced. We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.